Window.
And if we get around, we can track that.
They unplug this and usually, yeah. There we are. Say keys and, there should be an elevator.
Right.
Start streaming. Oh, we are live, okay. So, go back and do a little closer.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. That might get everyone enough fun. Sorry. I'm chair. We'll call the meeting to order. It's more like 7:02. Walk through the plan fast. This is the Newfields Conservation Commission meeting. Agenda was online, so hopefully everybody knows what we're going to discuss. We are not going to be discussing the HU questions related to Vernon. So that's, if you have other questions or other things that come up, we discuss that, but we're not discussing that particular topic today. It's on the 17th. Yes. So, on the first thing is review of last month's minutes. They were 27 pages long. And I'm not quite sure what to do. I mean, it's, but I don't know, other meetings, is I understand, like the captain of that sale, or have they tried to?
Essentially ask people to keep it. Make any corrections or comment on the next meeting. That's,
Yeah. I just feel like the level of detail was so. Yeah, one of them would be. Right, that's different. Yeah, I haven't tradition for either. Yeah, that because we want to see guys can deal with it. I think that we can help for people to be able to get a kiss of what happened in the meeting at home. Yeah, I think we're sure. I thought so much more.
I'm kind of like, that's not like,
Yeah, I think we should be able to. Yes, no, I agree with you, people, but I feel like someone should have an executive summary from that.
So I started and I found a couple of typos, but that's the end of my level of scrutiny.
Yes, that would be good. And we will post the whole thing. But. Okay, so we're not gonna take a vote on that because we're not moving them, we're not doing them. When I was looking at the minutes on the website, I realized that last month, in September, are not yet posted. Maybe these are not handled and stuff that I've forgotten about. So we approved them in last month's meeting, the October meeting. Is there a step? If I need to do the post, what happens?
I don't know.
Okay, we should. For the September minutes.
Did I do that?
Yes, because we voted to approve them. Yeah. Thank you. And then they will be, yes, oh, that's good.
What did we do with the rest of it? That's
Usually just, I usually just.
So we had a few corrections.
Was something,
Yeah.
well, could you in lockstep just send them over?
that's what I usually do.
Yeah.
She might have just, that's what this.
She was out for
Yeah.
This way it's done.
Awesome, thank you. So the next thing on the agenda is the 2026 budget. So the Conservation Commission has a budget that is primarily, goes to our honor, and we have a result for that. We have some information from last year. And we are not presenting this until the select board meeting on the 18th. So you don't have to vote and read budget right now. But given that we have more time tonight, I thought it'd be helpful to have discovery tonight. There are a couple of things like I don't think we have. But we don't actually have the quotes for next year's monitors. We don't know those exact numbers. So we can kind of look at a couple of other things. And so I just put during the email. It's usually me. I think we've got a staff, so we can use ourselves. I'm really this.
You should.
Okay.
So that the reporter understands who's talking.
Okay, I'm Alison Watts. I'm the chair of this conservation commission. So,
Town Redford,
Where are you, sir? Big things.
Jocelyn,
Chris McDade.
Newfields, Chris Taylor,
Lauren Hill.
Mark Casper.
Thank you. And I'm Christina's executive, treasurer, and she's giving me thoughts or suggestions.
But I had raised in the, email that I shared with the commission that, there was a question mark about one of the easements, and Lori didn't know that was from last year, so we know it's paid in August of this year, that was an easement bond that was done last year, not built last year. So that, once we get the estimate for that, that's fine. The only other question I had was one of the, kind of membership fees that we pay, look like they've gone up, so the budget in 2024 or 2025 was 200 something, and it ended up being 300 and something. So I didn't know if anybody knew if that fee was going up again next year, or it's going to stay the same. So, do you remember which one it was? Well, this is, Exeter Swamps, not Rivers, and this is the Hampton Association possibly. It's up here. So if the ESR LEC is $300 from January 28th, so that amount used to be increased, so because it was $200 budgeted and 300 paid at the beginning of 2025. And that is fair. So Angela Black is the Exeter Swampscott River Advisory Committee. So we sit on the Swampscott in terms of the Exeter dam. Because that is a river in our local region, because they do beach events, they do some activities that we participate in, we have to lead it to their committee. It's voluntary, we don't have to. We can also thoughts on that, but that's. I will say we are also in the watershed, got that management plan, I think it's like your CC of Lamprey River management plan, because the Piscataqua River runs into Lamprey, so we are also in that watershed. So we're also sort of included in that watershed. Both of those, and just right after remembering, both of those committees would love to have members representing each of the towns in their watershed. I don't know if there are any representatives from Newfields the river or the Exeter.
We do not know.
Historically, I know.
Bill Reserve had been on the Lamprey River. I don't know if he's still participating in that or not, but I think he was the town representative for the.
And I've done it in the past, you can think about it anyways, it's kind of a good way to connect with other watersheds, other people who are thinking about water quality in our region. It gives you a channel to see what they compare. Both of those towns and both of those committees have some ability to raise funds. They can get grant money from Lamprey River as well as scenic rivers, so they get a little bit of save money. So they can do little projects in the bridge region and things like that. So you know, think about it and things they just did. I would say reach out to me and also reach out to the committee and ask them if they have openings. Such it's come up. I have any to spend a few minutes. So that's what that is. The NHACC subscription is It gives us access to some of the advice and resources from the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions. We have been using that advice lately more than we have in the past, so.
And so far, we're not paying anything.
Okay. Here they invoice us,
Usually they send us a
usually send us an invoice. It might be worth just checking the invoice to see. Okay. Again, I think we can take some value out of them. Those are also, that's also.
How much was the membership?
Do you remember how it was?
That's what the budget.
That's, yeah, so that was probably what it was. Yeah. Again, we don't have to decide on this tonight, but rate of monitoring, we have been donating $1,000 a year from the Conservation Commission. That, I think many of you were present with Holomatsu this year in the spring, I think that the Mark Foley says in Great Bay. And part of that is funded by contributions from the towns. Newfields is particularly, it's important to us because we have a permit, as we referred to before, the regulates and discharges in budget into the Great Bay. So we have an interest in understanding what the Great Bay students have. There's a conversation that might be worth having at some point, whether that funding would be better come out of the town budget that's related to stormwater. You know, it's not even the same pot in the long run either way, but that might be a conversation. About that. Actually, some places that that is, and then the other, the largest cost is easement project, so we contract that out. And we are waiting for the, waiting for an estimate next year. The thing about that we have considered that it has is we monitor easements every year. We are required to monitor them every year. We don't have to monitor them with the same level of detail every year. Smaller easements are very low risk. So the greenway is pretty low risk because it's on myself and generally they're looking. We could take the option of monitoring it especially every year. I'm not suggesting we do that at this point. But they'll take it on monitoring. I mean, they're on property law. Also, they don't do the same kind of check the box easement monitoring. Well, they do. But I don't think it would that property.
Volunteers do that on.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, they don't do it specifically to the easement for the easement plan manager. That's their copy. But they basically do this.
They do.
They do the property, they hold.
Yeah.
So we own the easement there, they own the property in this case, they're kind of.
So the easement is our responsibility, but it's a very low risk easement because all the other protected. The other one that's very low risk is more because it's completely enclosed by a property, so there's a limit to the activities. But stuff that happen would be, my property. I'm not going to recommend we do that right now because we've kind of monitoring this.
Did we follow up the monitoring for the Anderson property we done prior to the first meeting? I know we discussed it in the last one, but that hit.
He requested.
It's already in the budget. So we asked her for some additional, to look into some of the things that you mentioned.
Yeah.
So we didn't change the budget because it doesn't substantially change what she's relating this on. But if we decide we want to do additional monitoring next year, that would be a place where we can, okay. Emails or email accounts, that back onto the town, so that costs, for recording secretaries, so that Lord is meant to take notes. Very close comes there. I don't think you want to take 27 pages. So those are the elements.
That was all.
I don't personally see any big needs for change this year, but between now and the next meeting, if other steps comes up, hopefully let's see where I could see. Yeah. And that's
And we proceed on making the adjustment to the Great Bay monitoring donation.
So you send an email to us, and then we can address it.
Yeah, and we will send an email to that group and say, this is the way to sign it. Okay. And there's a long, complicated letter story in there. I personally think that, giving that line, we should talk to us, whether, my question being whether it's this budget.
Now it's going to be obvious.
We're not sending it unless we make a decision. So we have to make a decision.
Right.
I was just asking how we proceed on that. I'm with you on that.
It's voluntary, it's not like somebody has to, we can pay it. If we were, and I think this is a discussion. Whether it was done this.
Yeah, I think, the money's not there now, but, maybe new fiscal year, maybe it's see the growth in that.
Yeah.
So,
Very much the question going budget.
There's one question for me then with that one, since it's in our budget this year, should we go ahead and pay it again this year?
We should pay it for this year.
I don't see it on here. But I got it, we'll take that. If everybody agrees that we should pay the amount of this budget, if somebody can make a recommendation, I would pay a different amount as well.
I think we can go with everything what we decided to do. That previous budget. I don't know that, but I give you the name of this.
It was, we don't have to force, but if somebody else is writing the check, I have to do a request. Yeah, it's similar, I believe.
Well, usually we had agreed a while ago that we pay all that stuff at the beginning of the year. So
It's not paid,
stuff like that.
unless it's correct. I couldn't figure out.
Yes, that's it.
That's it. Okay, then we did pay. Okay. I think that we were. And I will be.
Yeah, that's where I put the question mark, because I don't know what prep is, and I thought it might be that based on the amount, but I. Yeah, you have paid that as of February 11th.
Okay.
We're all set.
All right. The next thing I wanted to talk about, are we good on budget? Budget? Those are the what we're just getting ready to big decision. That's it. I'm going to talk about our budget plans, which were, developed in 1996. And probably could use a little bit of things. So honestly, I looked at these in ages, but there are a couple of places where I think we might want to do some clarity. And it looks like we have the opportunity to revise these in here and December. So again, this is not going to be a decision that we're going to make for now, but this is something we want to think about that we might bring through in December and think about. So I think it's useful for everybody, just take a look at these. At the very least, they can be digital. And think about some areas where we might want some more clarity. So one of the things that's come up is the role of the select board representative. So I can't find any place where we can specifically said what that role is. I think there's been a little confusion in my mind at least. Because this thing gives them right. Because for the land boards, which is the land board, I believe this thing. The RSA specifically states that the select board can appoint a member to those boards. For conservation commissions, it's just, it doesn't say. So it said it can, it doesn't say. And I did a little bit of the other conservation commissions. And it seems like pretty much every commission does have a select board representative. Some of them are full voting members, some of them aren't. But we've just never moved up from that. And I think that is something that you might want to consider defining. It's sort of especially for some of this. We have put some thought into that here.
There's another compound that you find that's as an enviable, as their act together in a sense. And maybe you could take a look at their bylaw and, you know, need to read them, maybe take some of those things. I mean, as far as, what we did this year or last year, I think it was just kind of a collaborative type thing where we chose one selectman. Okay. Would you like to take out? It wasn't written in stone, but that sounded good.
And I think that everyone I've seen with the select board representative, some of the planning board representative, some of the school board representative, and those representatives are also likely to buy the 3%. It's more a question of what that person's role is, and some of them, they are voting members of the office. Mostly when it's more like when we get set here,
Yeah.
we have to go with representative as voice, friends our votes.
Planning board, liaison, do they vote?
That's statutory and formal planning board policy, where the representative for the Conservation Commission is just an ex officio, a representative of the board on the planning board, it actually has.
They vote. So that might be something that you can look at.
That's just, it's in the bylaws, and we don't have to come to the extra, we don't think it's still again, but.
But again, I think it's worthwhile to,
And maybe it's too hard, miss what pages, so.
yeah.
The other thing we might want to consider is, how members are appointed to this board. And what's happened historically, generally, is when there's an opening, the board or the commission thinks about it and makes recommendations to the select board, and the select board generally goes ahead and appoints that person, if there's a reason they are. Again, that's just not written down. And so I think I gave you all, we asked me to kind of write that out. And I went ahead and did that, did a couple comments on it, we got different things. And I'll bring that back to some for you. But I just want to see if anybody else had any comments on it. Yes, we might want to put it, if we do move on, because I know that maybe 30 minutes of this. Find somebody out. That makes sense. The rest of it. Parking on the SMEs and where you're together, back, coming back to the, don't, voices, how much of discussing the voice. Let's come back to that, we'll get police and monitoring. On the agenda, we got parking and there may bring together all of that discussion, we think it's going to go in November 17th and discuss that meeting. The next thing on the agenda is something that I never want to look back, which is the winter festival. Yes. As of about 2 weeks ago, 5 Newfields community members have signed up. I continue to work with students to resend out emails and Facebook communications so that that's regular. I put some of the flyers in the township building here and over at the country store so people can see them if they're there. I just realized in the past week that it's not only people who want the window inserts that are being sought, but people who will volunteer to actually make them. And the Exeter event made is probably in their big building over there in the center of town in January around Martin Luther King Day. So it's like a week around Martin Luther King Day. So my intent is then to work with Sue in the next couple of months and just send out emails as well about if you're looking for a volunteer opportunity or you don't meet window visitors, but you want to contribute. This is the way of doing it. And they do all the training. I have a cousin who does this in London and she said it's fabulous. They do a really good job on this organization. So that's something else about the program that I didn't remember Karen saying anything about, but it is part of the program and offers an opportunity for community members to participate if they like, especially given that it's around Martin Luther King Day and people may be looking for projects for this practice.
It's, who sponsors the program?
It's called window dressers.
No dresses. And so around Martin Luther King Day, they manufacture, or they put together this window inserts for the.
Yeah, so the process for the whole program is that you sign up. You agree whether, how much you pay, so people can pay nothing if they can't afford it, they can pay a little bit, or they can pay full cost, it depends. And then once they sign up by November 30th, then someone will come out and measure, so that's one of the volunteer activities actually is they have an expert and volunteers that go out and measure the windows. And then based on those measurements, a window dresser is provided all the materials that are necessary to construct the window inserts. And then the community makes the window inserts and the window dressers does all of the training of anybody that volunteers and signs up. So they have a website, and you can go in and you can sign up for the spot you want, the day you want, the time you want. It's really well organized.
I think you want to build this.
It sounds like a lot of fun, and they have all the materials. They provide all the materials, they provide all the training, and depending on when you sign up, they have a whole sequence of activities. So if you sign up earlier, you're doing one set of activities. If you sign up later in the week, you're doing different activities. And you can also sign up by food, because they provide lunch to volunteers, so if you like to cook and don't like to build things, you can do that as a volunteer. Thanks for, yes. Okay, well, thank you so much for organizing. It's, everybody's doing all the work, I'm just writing information. Great, questions, thoughts on that?
Have there been some more signups than 5?
That's the last I heard from Karen, so I don't know how often they update it, but I'm sure there'll be another update.
Yeah, that's good.
We were ahead of everybody else at the time, so.
Good communication.
All right. So next on the agenda is, so we have 7 members of the commission. Our bylaws allow us to have all the members. It doesn't say how many, which is actually now I think about something else we might want to discuss. So a while ago, Sue sent out an email asking for interested people to let us know if they were interested. We have 2 people here today who have indicated interest, and I asked them please to come in and spend a little time with us, get to know what we're doing, and maybe take a little bit of time now to introduce yourselves. And then we're gonna have to make a decision about, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if we, we want more than one involvement. It's not something that's ever come up, I don't think, for us. But at least one alternate is a good idea. Then someone isn't here, and also that way, if somebody leaves, and you have someone who's sort of been trained with you. Sabrina, do you want to? Sure, Sabrina Daly.
I have interest in the conservation because I also have land in conservation. Lived in town my whole life, family's been here almost 100 years. So I have interest in. Any questions?
So I think we have to sort of think about, discussing the burden, even and their farming is really what's in front of this commission. So my understanding is that some of those chickens are on your property, but we have one.
They do, they have chickens over in our fields. They haven't done it every year because of the bird flu and all of that. But I don't really think that has much to do with farming concern. But then having the chickens inside.
I think this is just curious, actually. So do you live in the farmhouse?
Yes,
He's from there, so you're on that.
yeah. My dad's there, my grandmother's there, and my house is also there. So we're spread, but we're all. Yeah.
The people,
Which easement is that?
That starts down Ball Hill Road, right? Your father's down on Ball
Yeah.
Hill.
Well, my dad's out in the middle of the field. If you go down Ballfield Road, the second, well, all 3 driveways are technically our land, but the second driveway is third driveway.
Where the cow is, or the.
Right where the holes is where they stop.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so the day leave, that's the corner, not quite the corner, but we're not.
This area and where you start again after.
yeah, and we actually, part of the cemetery is family plots.
That's enough, a large number, it seems like, just like any of us as members, we recuse ourselves from a topic in which we might have just interest or something, so that's something that somebody thought. And if they want to be voting members, if somebody else wasn't voting, at least the way the bylaws, if a member wasn't available and the at-large member was available, then they would replace them for the vote. With that time, if there were votes and one member was missing amongst the time, so. It's like, if there's only one at-large member and they're just replacing somebody who's not at a meeting, that's fine. If they two people are out and get two at-large members, then we still keep 7. So, I don't think we want to have 7 at-large members, but they might, do very much. And the would in this room.
I make a comment, just, it's in relation to the discussion of bylaws. I would encourage you to actually put a section into your bylaws regarding alternate members, the number, and then your seating procedure. Typically, it has just been, the chairman has discretion. Most boards, that's how it works. Doesn't require a vote of the committee to do that. It's just the chairman, if there's a vacancy, they can seat an alternate. And the chairman declares that, and the person then comes up and formally sits. But you probably, if you're gonna do a revision of the bylaws, which I think is a great idea, definitely include language about how many alternates you're going to have and your meeting procedure.
Dan?
Yeah, hi, I'm Dan. I moved here in January because my in-laws have been here for 60 years and my father-in-law has dementia. And so we came up to help. We're originally from New Jersey, northwest part. We bordered conservation land. It's called reserve farmland in New Jersey. And it was great. We loved it. I'm an advocate of nature, and we bought several houses in Texas. We've been in Texas for the last 20 years. Worked for AT&T, and Texas just destroyed everything outside of Dallas. It just like, there's a tree, it goes down, and the house goes up. And so that was sort of painful to watch. And so when we moved up here, we bought a house on Halls Mill Road. And we have 7 acres, 5 of which is conservation. And so that's dear to us. We love that. We hike a lot, go on cell trails, and it's all in our backyard. And so I thought it'd be a great way to like get involved, meet people in the town, and be passionate about putting the strategy together that I'm sure you already have that looks at preserving the land and land that should and should not be utilized accordingly. So here to help.
What's your last name there?
Blending with a BLEMING.
So that 5 acres, I'm trying to get my head around that, so is that just, is my deed or is that some conservation piece that?
It's on my deed, but the deed, there's deed restrictions. So it's, can't do this, can't do that, and it's assessed at a lower rate, which I think is a real win-win. It's a win for me, it's a win for the town. The land has to stay as it is. I can't do anything with it. I can't develop it, that sort of thing. So it's pretty restricted, but I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it's always a good question to know what conserved land is a town, this one thing people don't have, but we can put this in, this absolutely fully mapping all the conserved land. All right.
I remember when where everything came up. So there is a map.
There is, Marketing and Planning Commission actually has a very good map of all the conservation things. I believe it does include deed restrictions that are publicly known. I believe, but, you know, don't hold me to that. But
But what's cool too is,
I'm sorry, the RPC though is the best database for that.
what's cool too is my 5 acres backs up to other land that people own that is also restricted.
Yeah.
So like all said and done, there's 80, 100 acres or so that on Allsville Road that is just conserved. So it's nice. We enjoy it. Lots of wildlife and we enjoy that.
Great problem before we get.
Yeah. You want to have 2 select board members in front. You're good.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, and new sections of this. The first thing is probably the same thing, guys, so we can actually use the reference that, but there's also the section that came up, there with Josh, is the staying and special committees. You know, which it just really, doesn't relate to your interest in the alternates, but, you know, or to bring on, have 30, 40 people in the commission technically. Not voting, but, you know, coming in as, special committees. I don't know if they'll with that, I don't know if we have standing ones at all, but it'd be a good thing to, work more next year.
I don't think we do, and I've had some questions about the conservation commissions lately. And I was talking to some of those, and they have an entire committee that does not even think about their uses, like, we don't people who just even talk about uses. And we don't have that, so I think it's something, I don't need to be the bylaws, but it's actually something we can do with the.
But there needs to be some clarity on this too.
Yeah.
Residents, I don't say anything else, so it's some guidelines.
I mean, I will say that I am concerned that I think that there is a perception already that there is bias in this commission. I think that bringing in a member with a stronger connection with learners potentially opens us up to more activism. And I'm curious to see what other people think. If that's.
But it's earlier, that person can accuse themselves from stating those conversations, but.
Well, I think when it comes to. Taking people, the modeling of that, we definitely have to.
Yeah. Exactly.
Required for the.
It's also the business. If you mind me asking you, if fee for, yeah, there's the business aspect to that too.
Well, because I'm not gonna let them, someone there.
Right. Right.
You know, I could care less if they were there or not, but they need extra space, you want an extra space, it's a farm. My field aren't making anything.
Yeah.
So why not let somebody do the report farm? But either way, I could care less if they're there. So it's not, my opinions have nothing to do with the chickens on the field. Those opinions have nothing to do with parking on the easements, nothing to do with any of that. So not that, them putting chickens on my field shouldn't cause any.
I think what it comes down, sorry, I think what it comes down to is if the AG's office reviews that, they're gonna look at that as a conflict of interest.
But they can also look at conflict of interest of people who wanted nothing, that didn't want the Vernons to do events or anything in the first place either. That could be, because there's been people that have made it perfectly clear that they want no events or whatever. So I mean, that's also conflict of interest too.
I guess one,
I'll just hear from the commission and.
Yeah, no problem.
I was gonna say, this one question is the need for alternates and what's the patterns for that? Have we been in predicaments where there's not a quorum and we're not able to vote? Because there are other opportunities, and I think it probably does require some bylaws. To your point, there could be special committees that more people in the community could participate in, and would alleviate those sort of situations.
Well, and then once we get past the November 17th, that alleviates that concern too, because then that's not the.
And then that's, yeah.
So we have to do we have to monitor it and we're looking at those new questions that will come from full seats and go.
But it's been relatively, these are the more hesitant situations where an alternate would come handy.
So. All the deals are 7 members, but we don't.
But if for years, we were down to like
Yeah.
5.
We've never had it.
We never had.
I would be alternate, I'm just saying.
I think having, for purposes of just simply being linear with the other groups, and the other commissions, boards, okay, maybe you have one, but is there going to be a necessity? Chances are, no. But I do like the idea of these family groups, for the fact that, I mean, I read some stuff online and it scares the hell out of me. I see that in 1985, there was this 4,000 gallon dump that was down the road, and that went into the river that comes into Newfield. Well, do we have a small commission that might make a water park and do some random checks on the water park? We have something on, scouting out other places for water. I know the water commission does that, but are they in a need for some extra hands to do things like that, the water quality, soil quality, whatever the case might be?
And I was mentioning earlier to someone about having at least one applicant member, possibly two, enables us to replace people if there is a term because of it. Leave or.
Oh, no, I have to say forever.
It was like, Tom, when you first expressed your interest and the board was pulled out of that night, the selectmen really just said, hey, be involved and you're ready to queue in. That literally fell right into place, 2 weeks later. So I mean.
I haven't come to meetings since November.
That's right. So I mean, there's nothing opposed to that. So you were already right in the queue, ready to go. Essentially an alternative.
I've been to a lot of meetings, but wasn't this many public at them.
Yeah.
So I just do that. But not in, so it's good to have.
That's the good news. You have actually more and more people stepping up. And that's a problem.
So even if you didn't do, alternates, there's still people showing up to the meetings, on the queue, seeing how stuff goes and, ready to fill in.
Yeah, I mean, historically, even on the planning board, we have alternates on there. They're good to have. They're good to have for a couple of reasons. One is, in case you don't have a forum, you can fill. Assuming your alternate shows up. And it's a rare occasion, but it's really not good to not be able to fill. So alternates do that. Two, you have alternates, you have actually more people in the community involved. And it's always a good thing because I know I've tried to fill the wards. They're really hard to fill from a small town like this. So the more people have involved, I think the better option. And then the last comment I'll make here is regarding the conflict rules. You may want to set a policy. It doesn't necessarily have to go into the bylaws. Set a policy regarding conflict and recusal. This is the only reason that where recusal is required is a pecuniary interest. You have a pecuniary interest, you really have no choice. You've got to recuse yourself, get into the public, don't sit at the board, let them go through the discussion, let them vote, and then once they've done that, it should be your pecuniary interest, you go back and just go back up to the board. But by state law, in state court cases, that's the only one. All the others, It's basically self-declaration. You have an opinion about something, somebody feels that you're conflicted, it doesn't matter. It's up to you, the board member, to declare whether you feel that the conflict is one that requires you to either abstain your vote or recuse yourself and go back to the public for that discussion. I highly recommend that if you do bylaws, do a policy. The town has a policy, but you guys probably want to have a policy just so everybody knows the rules of the road. There's a lot of conservation land in town, a lot of people who have interest in conservation land in town. So if you have a policy, everybody knows up front what the expectations are with respect to those issues. So just food for thought as you guys are mulling the bylaws and policies that you want to.
One note on the bylaws is we can talk about remote participation. I know that if you called in, the
There are things due to that, it's like, yeah.
But what if a member is sick? So if they can't attend the meeting, they're not here. Alternate steps in. Do we give any grace period? They can stable this until the next meeting and give them a chance if they've been involved. Like,
That's up to the chair. The chair has discretion on running meetings. And actually, in the state of New Hampshire, there are no formal rules for any of the meetings. Except for a public hearing. But the chair, you have the discretion to say whether you want to have or not. But the few powers, the chair's power of the agenda is pretty strong. You don't have much, but that's one of them.
I appreciate all the stuff about the bylaws. I think this is great stuff to think about. We think about. I feel like we have three choices here. We can either, decide whether we want one of these excellent people, and I do so much appreciate your being here. Maybe one of our, we don't have any consensus on the alternates we have. We could propose two alternates, or we could propose that until we have clarified this in the bylaws, until December, and then we'll propose. I have concerns about, again, also bringing in alternates. Depending on the timing, it might be sooner in the next meeting, and that's going to be more considered. So whether it's reasonable to be bringing someone in that at this particular stage, I also have concerns like that.
But to me, if we are intending to do the bylaws, which makes sense, since we have a target for December, we could act on it relatively quickly. Seems like we should identify that if we, just as we have to find the roles of our members of the select board member, find a role of the alternate, how can you use it, that will clarify how many you might want. We also would provide to anybody who is coming forward as a potential alternate, the rules to understand if they want to accept that if it's on.
And you don't appoint. The select board has to appoint.
We recommend.
Yeah, exactly.
The document says it. Other thoughts on that? I mean, I don't feel like this was brought to us by the select board. It wasn't that the commission thought we were dealing with someone. But that said, more helpful people is great to have. So I absolutely hope that you will keep coming. And depending on how this plays out, maybe you don't fit this round, maybe, as Tom said, he came for several meetings and running openings, and then when openings opened up, you could just step in place. And if we move forward with committees, there will be specific things. So you don't have to just turn up and listen. You can turn up, do things, propose ideas, help carry them out. So that's, if we don't make a decision today, I hope that we will continue to keep coming.
Thank you. As far as the recommended changes to the bylaws, how do we approach that one? What sort of thought?
So I do think,
As far as the process,
So in the December meeting, I think, we all think about it, I think, things we want to do in the December meeting. I can put something, I'll just jot down a section that has these ideas, but if somebody wants to spend some time looking at other town bylaws, we can come up with volunteers and look at other people's bylaws and get some of that language out. That would be great. All right, we'll keep on here too. Okay. Well, certainly that membership, we can't get distracted by guidelines.
That's a good number.
I feel like we have come to some kind of conclusion that we are going to work on the bylaws in December. And then based on that, we're going to decide what to do about the number of alternates, and what they're exactly what they're going through. Do we need to vote on that? You think? Reported that we made that session. And we agree, again, how grateful we are. And if something comes up, did you feel like volunteering for, feel free. It's your hand.
Rewrite the bylaws.
You want to make window search, bring it on. And we're not done yet, on stuff comes. Okay.
Are these bylaws set in week trade or are they also approved by this?
I think this is us. I mean, the language says that the commission amendments with bylaws may be made in the time majority vote.
Yeah. Exactly.
The public wants to keep their bylaws.
Right. If somebody says, I want to get rid of alternates, so to speak, they can basically come with a proposal to do so. You got to control your bylaws. That's what it's like.
Okay.
Before we move on to topic membership, so we have chair, vice chair, treasurer, and secretary. And right now, I'm a little fuzzy on the secretary part. You, Lauren, you were acting as secretary, and then Hillary started taking the meeting minutes. But should you still have a secretary, that's in their duty is to provide the minutes to the town.
Yes, because I actually think, and this was Lori's opportunity to say she can sum it up to be secretary.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think it would be simple. I said that months ago. You're, it's amazing. So we really great little. And then rampaging around, reorganizing things, I hope makes sense. There's a ton of information there. There's a lot of information I would like to see on that. And I can see that maybe being a secretary, being less of a benefactor and more a person who's sort of keeping track of where stuff is and making sure that it's available, etc. So as the secretary currently is learning correspondence, talking about having like, do we have any mail on nobody's checked and the board.
Well, yeah, that's good.
We do have mail. That's not the secretary.
Usually the treasurer would go with.
I can do that, but I don't think that's
in my job.
So not really, so because usually what happens is if a letter gets picked, so when we receive a monitoring, but there's, there is some issue and then somebody has to write a letter. And usually somebody volunteers to do that. So it's not that the secretary writes that letter, so there's particular issues with correspondence, it's issues with the wrong information. Yeah. And this is somebody. Likely or somebody told me something to read about it. Okay, so that's December, we elect officers. It says in our bylaws when we elect officers, so when we do that, let's read the circular. So I think that would be.
And on the topic of the
Start with me.
All right,
I hate to say this, but statutorily, you may be required to have a secretary, because the secretary is responsible for the form of records management.
Yeah.
And so that is a party who, as an officer, is, if there's a problem, that's who they point to. You may,
I think we do actually.
Yeah.
In our saying, I think it says that, so that's.
I think, but I'm not, I can't remember.
Okay, but
Oh, yeah, which,
But somebody would have to be designated, I think, as a secretary.
Learn about the Google Drive, so that's set up as accessible for all the content members, currently it's under my personal email address, which is okay for the access, but in the future, it may be good to transfer that to towns. You know, Outlook, OneDrive, like that, but maybe talk about that.
And honestly, that's, and maybe that's gonna come up later, but this is just something that's been bugging me a lot, is we have a ton of information on this drive. It's organized, it's all public, so there's things like the easements and these, you know, scanned in. It should be somewhere, or, if you and I can come to this conversation, it should be somewhere on the website. Because there's referencing more than taking some of the same. So that's, I'll have that conversation with Sue, we'll see if we can find a place to. This. Yeah. Okay. So what we do is monitoring the easements that are followed by the. So we have right now, we have 3 monitoring reports that came in. So what we do at this point is we brought 2 of those monitoring reports. We make note if there are any issues. And we approve the monitoring report as submitted. If we think that she does give us an information, or we say that wait, this thing's not complete, she needs to give us more information. If we approve the monitoring report, we will. So the first thing we're going to do is start with these, and it's the which one on my list here. These are somewhat more straightforward easements, so hold, and because that thing is all with line, so it tends to be pretty straightforward. I read through these. I didn't see any issues with both. There's any forms or any questions, and you know, because a lot of people do get questions about the easements, questions about the kind of stuff that's down there. It's a couple.
We just walked it whenever they've done. I mean, I think they cut through it a little bit, but not.
It varies, monitoring of boundaries is one of the key requirements for easements. So that tends to be the priority, but they also are trying to monitor for any unallowed uses and so forth. So it's a type of discretion of the monitor, what they do and give it.
But they will also go to any specific areas where you should know they were in spatial system. So they'll look at sensitive areas that are different. They're not, you know, they're not deeply involved. This is usually 2 hours per work. It's not like huge. Not huge. They're not big. There was 9 for the whole, it was 9. Basically, most of the day in the gym. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I realized it was actually the whole thing. So it's maybe it was misnamed. So it's not just his named it cold, but it's actually the whole thing. Which is pretty described. And no issues were noted. Pictures of things that are happening. So as we all know, there's active forest management going on the freeway right now. So, you know, it's been hiking down off Old Lee, there's big equipment down there. So that's part of what Self is doing for the. So there's pictures of that.
The greenway is what, 360 acres, but I think it's just what you said, it's not.
No, this one says the whole easement is 69.5 acres.
It was 36.
This is. What you were getting.
Oh, it does have 2 acres close to that.
Yeah. That is being done.
Oh, the radius. Maybe that's a section that we went through that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There.
It's the funny thing,
I think because they will not live here.
Still,
yeah, you're right.
Slightly bigger than the old farm.
yes, yeah.
Except that. It's a very important for the whole probably impacts everything. So. Comments, discussion.
Comment, not that, I don't know, she made some notice of the beaches. I actually saw that recently also on, Brandon's, and,
It's all over here.
yeah, office stuff and seeing that everywhere. I just, who would have thought what was interesting, that they pointed that out too.
The William one, it's that. So we'll put your bottoms later, eligible one.
Yeah, well, we did, because there is a greenway management plan, like, we might work on, we walk back and forth from things. It was super interesting to watch the sunlight, they say, well, that whole section's gonna die.
Yeah,
Those pieces are the first, they're gonna get finished. And there's gonna be huge changes there, this thing on this. Change over, it's changed.
Across the way too, which is what state property, but so then it was used on all. Yes.
The motion, we can discussion, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes, let's look at the next one.
It's 5.
This is a small parcel, on the,
So the northern side of the railroad tracks. It kind of butts out into the big thing.
There was one in the family, but those are excluded, that they haven't, that was.
the only thing on the cover page shows it on, I'll open, I have a checkbox about everything, one of the reports that I've seen so far, this one has the landowner contacted, and yes or no, and then by the box is checked. So that's unusual.
Yeah, it said in the description that you walk into the section.
So it just,
Yeah.
it should be always,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what she says. So, yeah.
yeah, you're right, Andrew, I can send you guys.
Oh, it's be mine, so it passed.
No, but yeah, just say listen.
I think it's worth noting that these are actually the little unfair, you know, so Aircon is finding it, but the technician is somebody else. So,
Yeah.
he's out there in the field,
I think, yeah,
he is,
I think, the initial have to be very, that was my impression.
I think it'd be useful to clarify that, so even though their reasons, like if we want to know if she is out there in person.
I know that she walks at mine or me, that's,
Yeah, okay.
that's the new girl, right? That's what they have.
What do you know?
Yeah.
And he doesn't, she hasn't been, but she hasn't been, yeah, she did.
Then it should.
Yeah.
But she did it
So,
Last year. Yeah, we
It's all blurred together.
yeah, no, it was,
Yeah.
it wasn't this fall, because usually,
Yeah.
it's right before the fall that she was, so she did it last, so she should be coming again.
Yeah.
In a few months, maybe.
This year. Sometime in the next few months. The thing I also want to try to picture matters is in the past, we have often had someone walk late and so from. So I personally have walked, I walked all these days, this is at Anderson for some reason. And it's useful, usually, you know, you get the landowner and you see and they don't usually get up. So if anybody wants to do that, then when Ariana asked her to let me know that she's doing some of these. If you want to, that's, yeah. That's on and off, and that's one thing that's really helpful. You use sense of the easements, you use sense of the. That's like we should avoid the word question. The report in this case.
Well, there's an issue.
So this one, there's an issue with ATV zombies. So there's an issue, she noted. There are ATV tracks. And I think that that is probably something we need to follow up on. Question might be. It's probably worth just having someone go out and take a look at it. See what the level of service it is, and then continue the time, who knows where they're coming from. It's the metro, so easy.
Yeah, I was on the Greenway a few weeks ago, actually leading up to that.
Yeah.
That would be coming from the Newmarket side.
Yeah, are you talking about the trails that are behind the cabin? Behind the yards?
Yeah.
So there's always four-wheelers, dirt bikes, always going from Epping down Rail Trail to there. At least twice a week.
I actually observed some just a few weeks ago on the Greenway, which is behind that, coming from the Newmarket side recently too.
Yeah,
Which is, near the long way back in there then.
you can almost follow them to where they're coming from. Down that street.
But this is like. First point to get to. It's kind of, and it's interesting because it was. The game of spring behind North Valley.
Who's the right
There
guy?
was an easement, there was a 18, they have a little walkway, which with a red trail, right next to it. An ATV came from their property across and then into the easement behind. Instead of, I don't know what it is. But it's to the left, west of that, where the, there's a perfect place to get to. Normally, it happens. I mean, I can, look about up there and see.
I think you have heard that from Shanda, I think Shanda Drive in Newmarket,
Well,
right back in the back of the Greenway.
oh no, this is on there, it's right, oh. This is right behind the driver's house. There from.
Okay.
There's all the trails from there.
I know, exactly, and he rides into the after.
Yes.
And that's what it is.
There was, one year that, monitors weren't available to me, it was actually, Chris and I walked the yards. And there were some trails back there, and it was from the garage themselves on motorized vehicles. I think there was some targets up there.
Maybe the deer stands.
Yeah.
That I don't know that you does specifically say that on those vehicles.
Yes, but no, so we will, I don't know if we actually captured that in our. I wrote that.
And so if they go to.
Yeah.
But
They're generally not some Spanish.
Right. So in a case like this, what we usually do is remind the property owner, often it's not one, but just remind them that that is, there's a restriction. It's hard to police stuff like that. And also talk to self, but there's also people coming in on the freeways, they're. And I think I would know that.
Well, where those pictures are taking place, that's 13, 15, 16, and 18-year-olds a long way from their house. And right, I can tell you right now, I have 4 trees out there. There's a direct logging road right there. And that's being the drive right here.
That's directly from the beam area.
No. It's right behind the drawers house.
13, 14, and 18 are where the pictures are taken.
Right, so this is the drawings, so 87 here.
Yeah.
This is the drawings, that's the rail trail. The greenway is all up here. And is up here,
It's very far away.
it's very far away. So
Yeah, there's a logging that comes in here. Right there, here.
This is the logging road.
No, there's another one. You come right here, it follows the rock wall that divides the burn. And,
So they took a lot.
Yeah, but that's nowhere near Shannon.
no, it leads straight to Shanda.
It's a distance, but not,
Yeah.
once my vehicle, you're not gonna.
There's a logging road that comes right down the stone wall right here.
The snowmobile, I think, because the gates closed for the summer, but they open it. My husband and I push it on last year. Sure, I'll get it right.
I mean, I don't know what there's a meeting. Which one?
So this section right here is all posted property
It's all wet.
and posted. And that wall, that follows the wall.
So there is a wall.
So people from that commissioner had to go out and investigate. And you haven't had less than 4.
Yes, but it was a form of probably the most.
Okay,
Usually this is 1 or 2 people.
okay, so who is going to go and investigate?
Who wants to go?
I actually know that area extremely well.
Okay,
I'll go if you go.
Yeah, and I have written permission to be on that posted property alongside.
Even better. Give me a shield. Yeah, I don't have any. It's.
Yeah.
So that would have bugs me too, right?
That,
Because I live on the jar rock, pretty far.
that easement doesn't go that far back, really, but it, yeah, the hoops right around you. I think that's the backside of your field is in that picture there. I think that's yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That green line is right where we mark property.
Yeah.
They have like a text alert, like to police, so like if you see like a snowmobile, I'm not snowmobiles, the 4-wheelers or whatever on the tracks, you can be like, text alert, 4-wheeler on the tracks, so.
You must see them once in a
I
while.
want to see her again. But again, yesterday there was 3 dirt bikes that came flying out of it. And then 4, the guy, my neighbor, that just redid his driveway, Andy Nichols, they went right in his driveway and like burned it. The whole that road went, his name was on TV road.
Well, you know, right here, so that's fair too.
Yeah, that was great. It was roses.
So maybe someone should.
Maybe we can ask, like, if this stuff is hard to police, I think. We can also talk to. Yes.
but if they're doing it. And like they're trying to get the speed or something.
Please see if we're like master area.
Or on it once, that's what option we have if we can get out.
Give them my little.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll send you that. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's probably mine is the landowner, but it's somebody else that can land already doesn't know, they have that control over it, so it's not. Getting your head around how fast to address the problem. Okay, do you have any other questions or comments in this here before?
Are you gonna walk that and move to Gerard's or just do what you?
So we can walk. I mean, there's a trail, it's fine.
That's actually where those pictures are taken are quite a way, that's actually right behind the earning easement.
And he has a bridge literally right there at 18 and 19. The Gerard's property is a long ways off from the ball, I mean, straight.
Oh, it's the picture there in the monitoring report about their property. I recommend looking, yeah, I recommend looking them into the law.
Just let them know.
Yeah, I just look them in some way.
Yeah.
And invite them for that.
Yeah, and I will do that. So. Just let them know if there's a concern.
Contact Maya, with them talking about getting there, we going through the burn easement, because they have a bridge right there at 18, 19. And there's there were, they know.
Right, where the beaver, beaver thing is.
Yeah, right by the beaver receivers, yeah.
The Johns.
Reach out to, this Roosevelt, just let them know. We need to sue there. That'd be our easiest. Yeah.
Just.
About the Gerard property, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe they have a 50-foot right of way that their son does ride on.
The thing goes off the rail trail into the, towards the cabin.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah. And they do have one deer stand out there.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's not what we're talking about. I think we're talking about off that trail, going towards.
Well, I don't know about off that trail, but
Yeah.
he does ride on their 50-foot easement, on their 50-foot right of way.
Any other comments on this?
Full day for collection.
And the monitoring, or not monitoring, but there's. Yeah.
But we can, so there's the original, yes, so it's right, the checkbox. At the very top. Okay.
Yeah, yes, okay.
Lori?
Yes,
So you're not the secretary, you're here at easements, but I will say that Lori took over easement coordination from Forest and gave us on. And she is welcome to try on that on that.
no, I'm fine with doing it.
Okay, can you just contact them and just note that, so we can like that correctly? And I would like to move that we approve these pending a correction.
I'll second that.
On the box. All in favor? Right, I can submit that. Yeah. Right. These four. So this is the rail trail behind Meadows. A lot of people don't really know where this piece of property is. It's a property that's only to be the background in population and he sold the house. So it's kind of really landlocked by other properties. So you can get to the top of the rail trail, but not really the other way. So it tends not to have. Because it's 40 acres and it's 7.25 acres. And do you know, Lori, do they conflict? So they don't meet the owner on site, it's in the way. This is contact.
Well,
There's no guys in the site, but it.
they used to,
Uh,
they moved to Ashland, but that's a long time.
oh, okay.
It's great.
Okay. Okay. I see you too.
But I think the son, you know, we had a her issue, the son was.
Yeah, but I think that's what's going to
But they're there.
The only things that point out pictures or anything, wooded areas, I think.
The state school thing?
But it's not.
Any comments on that, any thoughts?
What about that committee? Was that excluded area?
That's been there for 30 years or so.
But it would not be there, the excluded area.
It's kind of great, you know, that farm is great.
That's
But,
yeah.
you know, and that's the thing is that because the beaver, do those flooded things, the trail had ignored the change course. Used to be able to go by them. You know, and do them. It would be.
No comments or thoughts, then I move to the executive report.
So,
All in favor?
Okay.
Okay. Awesome. Okay.
Regarding all these reports, I'd like to say that kind of came up in the conversations. A little more specificity when we request that the evaluator, but which, in particular, I noted that the word invasive mentioned, it'd be good to kind of say where they were, because that's something that there could be some action taken in the following summer to do something about that. So basically, the other thing wouldn't be harmful to know is turtles, mentioned turtles. And if they could identify the landing turtle, which is the critically endangered turtle in the answer, that'd be a good one to spot out, you know, you can from a distance, you can't tell for sure. But that'd be good to try.
Well, too, there's people like that, they put them. And then usually it's like,
Turtles name, so.
but they were planning to.
Because there are a lot of landings around, unfortunately, they're, you know, stay by this and that. So little things like that, you know, that would be good, especially if we have to maybe go and take a look and take a look further. You get a little bit to walk.
Yes, a little feedback that slightly more detail. If it's another one that gives some information.
Yeah, and then the reports are right.
It seems like there's a lot of, like she had a lot of photographs, very clearly marked photographs for her, so I don't remember the details, but I was saying like she mentioned the base.
Well, the access, you know, it's a little bit.
Well, I think it's hard to
Describe where she, you know, I think that it's significant that we go up.
Well, that's obviously the next, you
Because
know,
I think her describing where it is.
Well, or she just takes a picture, so even if we're getting on plot, that she takes a picture and notes it on the map, the way she did with other items, and it's easy.
Right.
yeah, I'm saying, well, it's the northwest side, it's, you know, this.
Go take a picture.
Go ahead.
I was actually a picture of everything basically.
Yeah.
Maybe we can suggest maybe, again, areas of.
So there could be some volunteer team. Deal with it, that's improving the lot, which is part of our, maybe.
Yeah, because we could pretty much accept these, but we could also make them very effective, like tell us specifically into things that we can still correct it beyond, not just problems, which is mostly what we do, if there's a, you know, if there's an issue with the easement, that it's like the easement, and we react, but we don't necessarily want something like to get them in case of stuff. Or talk to the landowners about us, letting us help them very basis, for instance, we would never, that's what I'm doing. All right, thank you. CSX parcel, something else about the agenda, right?
Yes, so we were bouncing back and forth, an email that we're going to send over to CSX. And I meant to send this out to all of you today, but, my pastor on my email is not. And Phil Blaze is the key mess. It's great. So if he gets back in tomorrow, I was going to send you a draft. And not for everyone to chime in all at once, but if you could fire back to me to say, I would change this word, and what about this? Give me your feedback. And I'm going to present that tomorrow, and say, we can email that, based on some feedback from Concom, this is what we'd like to send to CA. It's an email, not, you're not sending them a PDF. This is just to make it the best possible chance of them responding positively. So whatever you can add to the monument, yeah, please do. I was just thinking.
I hope it's like, how quickly do you want feedback?
Well, we're going to be meeting tomorrow, so yeah, take a look at it and just give me your thoughts. Okay, I'll send it out first.
All right. Thank you. Okay, other business. I have a couple things that I noted. One, drive organization, so that was at their request. That makes sense to you all. Rearrange the files, find things. He felt like it was like a tangle mess. It was fun. At least it's that. So I tried to really want to point this out. And then as new stuff comes in, so we are still getting some letters, some comments. What I have been doing, like the ideas, I'm just putting them in the folder that says new information in a great place. So I'm putting them in the folder. That says where we're gathering materials requested. So it's really just, it's not just new material like we're doing it, because some of it is not stuff that is requested from other people. It's just letters that people are sending in or information that we don't know. The stuff that's in the public folder, just so you're aware, that is being shared with the emergency attorneys, the letters attorneys, and the attorney general's office. So all of that is very public. As we approve more materials, they have asked for the materials. So as we approve more stuff, Derek has asked that, every couple days, we just sort of let him know there's some stuff in there, he'll vet it, and then unless he says no, we have to be able to do that process. So that's just be aware of what's going on there.
And so we should send everything to you. If we get anything new or if there's anything.
Yeah, if it goes to the conservation, you would have, if it goes to conservation commission in general, then that comes to me as well. If it's so, even if it's specifically something, and we're good. But also, I think as we are gathering materials, so they want to know sort of the general materials that we're looking at. Obviously, they're not going to get everything, just one, that's section or whatever. But if there are documents or pieces of information that you think are helpful or useful for the other members, you can either pop them in there or send them to you. But, some point in us all sort of read those searches.
Probably less than 70 because you more discerning of what should go where. But I'm also a big deal. That's just download. I think it's that.
So I can redo that link. I'll try redoing the link so you can have edit access and just send it to you guys. But it kind of depends when they have the link.
That's what I reach out to you when you send me a link.
Okay, I will try. I'm going to redo the link.
What it's like.
Yeah, so there's a way you guys can log in. It's being more included. So I will try and send you a link that gives you edit access.
Bill, I mean, he's been Bill Blaze.
Yeah, it's not really his problem because it's a Google Drive, which is obviously really should have a town.
It should, and to your point, I think things are either sent to all of us or you with the chairs, so.
Yeah. Yeah, so. Okay. Yeah, I was trying to make decisions about my sister there and Michael's there, and that's another thing. I feel like I just really don't see stuff. It's all in right up there. So, and then the other thing is we had a letter from John Hayden, which I think went to all of you. And a couple of you have asked for general background on the chain of events that happened kind of around or late 2022, early 2022. And rather than having a discussion, what I said I would do was just try and use a little the timeline, this happened here, this happened there, this happened then. I thought it was a good idea, so I tried to do it, and then I realized I came in early 2023, I was here for all of the conversation, so actually I'm not entirely sure I could do that. So what I did was I took the Conservation Commission meeting minutes, I took relevant memos, and I threw them at ChatGPT, and it didn't make me the timeline. And I have dumped that into that general new materials folder. So there's a ChatGPT generated timeline of that conversation. I have also, because in the process of doing that, I had to download minutes since it's become the first lecture. It's a pain in the neck to download minutes. As the world goes on, to be able to download all the minutes and then now in the general, in our general Google folder, there's now minutes in the general folder. I put all of 2023 Conservation Commission minutes in there, because then you can AI search. So we have them in one place. And it's just something for the town to think about for getting these requests. Yeah. So there's really little to get. So if there's a way to start a folder, we can start
Deal with,
13 things or
on the website. Yeah.
or anywhere. So if you, you know, you can collect all that.
You send me an email that's specific, like a wish list. This is what I'd like to see now.
Yeah,
Because we already have the website redone, so maybe we can look civic.
I mean, I'm sorry, it's still somewhere in the folder on the website, but you did not look, so.
Yeah, but it would be on the web design to do some kind of search of it.
Derek has a thumb drive with every correspondence memo, monitoring report from the time of the burnings, every email sent from the burnings, from the time they purchased the property until 2024.
Yeah, so it might be that way.
And the abutters attorney said that too, because they right to know refund.
Yeah.
So, like, it's all in one spot.
I don't think it's specifically for this, I was just thinking in general, like,
Okay.
we want to know,
Anything,
anything, we want to know if there's been problems with APPs or these things. It's just, it's hard to look on each one and we don't from the it's, you know, the modern world.
I think the big question was this thing I'm on with have to recur as far as mentions.
I think it's, I put it in there, I'll send it to you directly, see if it makes sense. It's, like I said, it's a great all of this. So I'm relying on, you know, this.
That's in the.
Yeah, the new materials requested. No, I wasn't talking about. And everything I know about is in this.
Those from, minutes from the last meeting too, because we have many members from all the other lines too, so looking back and get that. And some of the dates, I believe.
Yeah, if there's something, everything that I know is in, if you know, the public stuff versus miscellaneous documents, that's everything that I know. If you think there's something specific missing, I'm not on track, but that, I think they could. It's just something that's not well labeled. I think that's the only name or transfer. I think.
Are you setting like a deadline for receiving the materials for this next meeting? Because like, you avoid getting the situation where you have a meeting and then there's suddenly a bunch of new stuff again and you have to.
Well, I don't think it's a deadline for the last meeting, and we're gonna need stuff,
Right, I think
and I think that's not okay.
Well, the meeting after was fun too, but I mean, I agree with you, but then they got.
Well, but that's the thing, that's fine, at that time, we said, no, this is bad for input. I think it's way more.
You're going to be,
I don't think that we have an obligation to consider new material can comment. But our obligation is different from, when people send us something.
Right, no, I'm saying, but it's me that I'm thinking is that I think that I'm putting it accountable for these things, like, like 16, you know, I mean, you said, we're doesn't it?
It certainly be taken into consideration.
But like, you're like, I mean, yeah.
It's not like we're getting people stuff, right? It's a thing.
No, the few things that we,
No, okay, when we set the agenda, because it'd be someone needs.
The agenda's posted.
It's up to anyone.
But expect is a complicated, so I don't think that we, so complicated, I don't think that we are allowed to consider new materials because we said we were not doing that.
I think what you were also, I think,
But I'm
I
not.
remember you were talking about, the attorney's commentary, that there was a hard stop on that. Right? Was that?
Yes.
it's always different, but it's something that, because
And we're not getting,
we're not getting enough value.
Requested.
no, we're not getting the requested items. And we're just not getting tons of public comment, we're getting an occasional letter. But I don't think it's an issue unless somebody senses something that they really want to consider that.
Not going to invite additional.
Very much writing additional.
What is the deadline for requesting both parties?
So we originally said this week, because we were going to be meeting this week. So I did not give him the additional deadline, but I can get back to Darren and say, you want it by.
These were meeting.
So we want it in this week. Okay. Something I think, that is not true. I have a couple of pieces of mail in my car that I forgot to bring in. But they are either standing in the grind or they are in the Lamprey River Management Airport, which they get launched off.
Yeah.
The prep. And I was sorry to bring this in because it's the prep's quarterly magazine and it has an article on my work. I'll bring it in next time. That's like that. Anything else that people want to bring up?
Do we have something from the newsletter, which is, you know, like, the library newsletter? We have to, we certainly windows.
That was going to come out late. I thought we had, oh, no, but it's something about volunteering.
No, it's something that, it's something we accomplished. Oh, it's just like public awareness. Maybe a little bit, something that happens, parcel, nothing. Details, 10 sentences, basically, like we did the last one. I don't know, I don't get out, right, who wants to help you?
We want something on the window, we're going to try to.
So, yeah, it's not a big deal, but I think it's really not the case of that. It's not like, so, Wall Street, everybody can, yeah.
Oh, is that what you're about?
Well, the submission for the article is Thursday.
It's literally in December. It's going out in December.
Yeah.
And when's that action the window?
November 30th. Yeah, I already had a conversation with them, as a communication for people to sign up, but I think Tom's right, we can say, you know, look, here's what we've done, people are participating, there's volunteer opportunities. That will,
Yeah, and then next, so, you know, people, yeah. I like it. Once we want to. And I also want to bring, we were talking about, is acronyms, so PrEP. The PrEP is Piscataway related, that's definitely out of UNH Marine Science Program, so they have a UNH connection. There's a, the CAW, the Coastal Adaptation Network, which has 30 different organizations kind of tied into, including some donor states and things like that. So they do a lot of things. They do nice educational things, they do all kinds of stuff. And it's known as CAW, so another acronym to know. And it's the coast, the broad area on the coast there. They did a presentation last week at Campus Landing on the saltmarsh thorough, which is fascinating. Really talking about the key piece of the information and talking with them. But they did not bring this up. So this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday are some king tides that are going to be very high tides. Due to lunar things and all that. And they're having a photo contest where during these tides, they can get photos, tying into kind of high tide, encroachment on things, something interesting. The photo contest, and I had some printouts I brought in from it, so I don't have to. If you look up the CAW website and you want to do any photography near the coast dealing with these king tides, some interesting tidal intrusion or something like that, then there's a contest with some kind of prize that's interested in this game. So there's some of the things that are going on with these groups, and there are a bunch of them. It's hard to keep track of the acronyms. I'm going to try and help clarify some of that with this. And we will work with more of them as time goes on.
Thank you. Well, the good news I think, is that Newfields doesn't tend to come from the King University. Because they don't really affect, my status is not so good. All right, anything else? Anything from the public? Okay. That case, make a motion to adjourn. Debate.
Oh.